Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. And today we get a little bit intimate as we talk about random tables. Yes, from the inception of tabletop role playing games, especially fantasy, now known as the OSR, whatever your definition of the letters O, S, and R are, there's been a desire, a collection of, a search for, dare I say, an addiction to random tables. And yet, in our modern parlance, a lot of those random tables are no longer used or accepted or even thought of as an appropriate tool for the modern fantasy gamer. So I'm here to tell you and to divulge to you the intricacies, the secrets even of why random tables are embraced by the OSR and maybe some of the unintended consequences as labeled by the thumbnail of the move away from one type of play style to another. So let's get into it. Anyway, I thought I'd do a little a smooth jazz intro today. No particular reason. And anyway, thank you guys for being here. Thank all of you, creatives community and kind folks who found this channel. And yes, there are random tables, and I have my little. I actually made a visual for you guys to take a look at as well. Yeah, they are an easy way for the DM to make it even more like a video game without having to think too much. I would say less video game, but yes, sometimes when you are the DM or GM, um, you know, it's one against maybe three, four, six. We're one person, and the creative spark, or sometimes getting out of our own creative loop, can be difficult. So using a randomizer can break that creative loop. A creative loop is I'm defining as using the same creative elements over and over again. Sometimes we're just inspired by something, and even unconsciously, you can't get it out of your head. For example, as of this airing, the last episode of House of the Dragon has just aired, and for good or bad, it may be influencing maybe my creative spark. And so therefore I start using that, and the players are like, yeah, I can read what you're doing. I can see into it. So let us share this document here. It's just a little little something. And mind you, it is a living document, so we may add some things to it. I think we can add those plot elements. Now, remember, the Shice Swa goes on to say, but there are also random tables for the thinking man with plot elements instead of encounters. Yes, I think the Mandela effect, the over canonizing in tabletop role playing games is that a random and a random encounter is a collection of random monsters, and an encounter clearly isn't a monster because they're not even spelled the same. An encounter is anything that when characters are traveling, that they may encounter along the way, whether they are travelers or a unique location or a strange environmental structure or weather or sounds and experiences, anything of that nature. And they don't need to be harsh either. It could be a natural spring of clear fresh water. It may be an open glade with a clear view to the city state the players are heading to. It could be a crypt or pedestal or empty barnyard, any number of those things. And actually, I forgot to put something else on this table, so I'm going to add this to the table since we are talking about this. Here we go. We're going to put down info dump. And in parentheses, we're going to add in lore and rumors. So on this little list here, I have a list of a number of elements of using random tables, and maybe we are missing this from. I'm not suggesting that everyone go to all random tables. Period. Forget being creative. Just randomly roll your adventure. That's not what I'm advocating. But in the OSR, I believe these are the reasons why they are embraced to such a high level. When you do a lot of world building, sometimes, just sometimes, you need to explain what the world is like to your players. And doing a 45-minute rendition of all your world building while your players twiddle their thumbs sucks. You don't want to do that. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. But on a random table, random encounters, people, places, things, sights, sounds, sensations can all basically be microdosing of your lore into the player's hands. And one of those things on a random table is it's not just travelers, it's travelers who are leaving, I don't know, the city-state ruled by the Dragon Lords. Well, how do the players know that the Dragon Lords control the city-state unless on their travels they come across nomadic peoples, harvesters, escapees, bandits, whatever, that look, sound, appear, converse about the Dragon Lords that the players are coming close to. Maybe their dress is one of scales or embroidered with the heads of dragons. Maybe they carry banners, or they've run from such a place and they have injuries that are born from flying scaled monstrosities or something, or so forth. Info dumping. And the info dumping doesn't need to be constant info dumping from NPCs like in a video game where you walk up to them and they just start spouting information. Although you could very easily do that, it may also be the fact that, like I say, places and things may also give that, whether it is graffiti or a mile marker, or it could be a monument, it could be a memorial for people, any number of those things, and it's just giving little hints of information. I bring up the movie John Wick and the whole John Wick series, the gold coins, the Continental, the world of assassins, and the movie never explains these things to us, but we are slowly introduced to them when John Wick shows the gold coins that were literally buried under concrete in his garage, and then after murder killing people because, well, they were involved in the murder of his puppy, he pays a gentleman that he calls gold coins to remove the dead bodies. They don't explain how or why, but we get that. And that is a bit of lore dumping. Maybe people traveling past the player characters have these unique blue flowers that are in their hair, on their clothing, and they hand a bouquet to the players, and they don't explain why, but they hand them to the players. And then when the players get close to the city, they realize everyone's wearing these blue flowers. What the players do with that information, who knows? So that's just one aspect of randomization, is just maybe you have a list of rumors, or with a half truths and half truths if the players decide to speak with anyone, or they garner this information from a letter stuck grasped in the hand of a dead body, or bird signs in the sky, who knows, anything like that. A second one that I have listed called Hands of Angry Dice Gods. So if myself as a DM, as the dungeon master, I set up a scenario where there are 37 lizard folk, there are 16 giants, and then the third encounter is a hydra and a lich with a pit fiend bodyguard, and the players look at me like, seriously? We're like third level characters. Seriously? You set up this encounter? You're an asshole. Instead, the hands of angry dice gods. This is a way for the dungeon master and the players to all be on the same level. And if things turn out bad, it's not our fault. It's the table. The game master has not specifically decided to set up encounters that are balanced or not balanced, which, mind you, in the OSR, balance is a dream. It is a rumor. It is so much mist. You never heard of Stop it. Now there is John Wick, the game designer, which is a separate individual than John Wick, the fictional action movie shoot 'em up character, played by Keanu Reeves. Yeah, example of a good one. You arrive at a strange town and there's a random table for what kind of bad people are secretly running the town behind the scenes. Yes, in the hands of angry dice gods is this idea that there are dangerous, growing threats in this world, and the players may come across those dangerous threats that would be life-threatening to them. But instead of myself deciding that they're there, instead of the players bumping into them, searching them out, we have a random table that maybe, just maybe, they may show up and confront the player characters, or at least be in their vicinity, right? And you'll see why there's a little asterisk at the very top to the right of why there are random tables. You'll find it. Spoiler alert, it's about context. The idea behind rolling on a random table, many times that random table in front of everyone, is that the downfall, the conflict, the troubles, the harsher elements tend to be at the farther ends of those random tables. And if it just so happens you get your like D100 table, you get your percentile dice, maybe you even hand the dice over to the players and they roll a 3 or they roll a 98 on that table. It's just the randomization of the dice. That's it. It is not someone choosing. It's not the DM choosing to kill the players. And maybe this is where some of the killer DM elements came from. It's also we're playing to find out, right? You'll see it as one of these decisions here. We're playing to find out. I don't know what's going to happen when you travel around the through the valley. You don't know what's going to happen. We have a random table of many elements that would be common here, but which one, I don't know. And then we roll on that table to find out. Heck, even without random tables, we also have random reaction rolls. Random reaction. Maybe those lizard folk that are marching through the swamps or whatever, they don't have to be through the swamps. They could be through that valley as well. Maybe that cadre of lizard folk, maybe they're helpful or neutral, or maybe they're a little paranoid, or who knows, but they don't necessarily have to be hostile. And that randomization is like a representation of a living world. Even the game master, the dungeon master, doesn't know what the next turn brings, what the next day will bring. And that's why many times the downfall of players, it's not by choice. You suck as a dungeon master. No, it is, here are at least 2d6, here are at least 11 choices on this table, or here's at least 37 choices on this table. What happens next? We don't know. All right, yeah. This leads to the table for cult and random results to see as to what kind of crazy stuff the cult's doing. Yep. I love those tables, because sometimes you get some combinations where you're like, really? All right, let's go with it. Oh man. Hands of Angry Dice Gods. I remember that. John Wick. No, I seriously never seen it. No, not television, movies. John Wick movies. So some of the four of the best action choreographed, uh, bullets to the head, modern day uh, kung fu, gun fu movies you will ever see. Yes, 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 you will ever see them. All right, what's another one? Time as a dwindling resource. So, time as a dwindling resource is a combination of tension and pressure and a threat matrix that goes where hit points aren't the only way to measure stress. So, time is a resource in the OSR. And what that means is when players, there are essentially two modes of travel. Not necessarily specific, but it's you're either wilderness traveling, you're traveling across long distances to get to the dungeon, and I'm being very general here, or you're inside the dungeon and you're traveling there. Now, wilderness could be on sailing ships, it could be airships, it could be going across snow-capped mountain ranges or a vast accursed desert. It could be transversing through a swamp or what have you, but it is going overland, essentially what some people call a point crawl or a hex crawl. Whatever the travel is, spending too much time in one place is a waste of time. But there are times when players need to rest. They need to investigate. There's a desire to stay here and look around just a little bit longer, and that's on overland travel. The same can be said for the classic dungeon, whether you're going down in a cave system or crypt or abandoned castle or whatever the graph paper says is the adventure. And again, how long do the players stay in one room? How long do they poke and prod things with their 10-foot poles? We'll get into 10-foot poles later in the week. How long they need to utilize those resources without skipping past the good stuff. Maybe they might find something behind a tapestry or underneath a carpet. Maybe there is a sconce they can pull to open up a secret door, but that takes time to search for those things. Time is a dwindling resource. Normally what happens is the dungeon master can let the players know, hey, your overland travel, every 6 hours we are going to roll for a possible encounter. Every day of travel, and there's 13 days to get to the slightly off-white plumage of a mountain, right? Or whatever. To get across the accursed desert, it's going to take 7 days of limited supplies and whatnot, without water and an oasis to be seen. How long do you take to do this? And when you're confronted with encounters, again, those encounters don't need to be orc raiders on the back of giant scorpions. It could be a sandstorm or quicksand or extremely tall, ready to collapse sand dunes or salt flats or whatever. All of that are encounters, and it means time. If the players don't move, the world moves the players. And that's one of my mantras for world building, that if the players go to the tavern and they do nothing, they want to stay in a tavern, what is it about your world that's going to move the players? Meaning, like, are the town's guard going to come by and wonder what the players are doing? Are there festivals that the players are not involved in? Is there political machinations happening the players really should be paying attention to, but they're not? What about your world will move the players if the players don't move within your world? And time is one of those things where players go, okay, we can't sit here poking and prodding all day, rolling for perception checks all the time, every time we go into another room. We really need to be proactive and do this, because if we sit still, wandering monsters around the dungeon are going to find us, and we really can't afford to have a fight in an OSR world, because you really gain nothing from fighting monsters. You gain things from the treasure, not the monsters. And it's better to find the monsters in their home lair where you can find all their goods because while they're traveling, they're very rarely traveling with a lot of stuff. Yes, you can loot the bodies, but usually you also don't find very much. It's finding the lair, being proactive and delving further into the dungeon to get to the lair rather than sitting one place and waiting for random monsters to come towards you. Says, oh man, 10-foot poles. You were just talking about encumbrance and gold pieces yesterday. And the encumbrance you get from lugging around a pole is just nuts. He says, okay, if you had a pike, I don't know. Now, here's a problem with using like large pole arms and things like that in caverns. Maybe, just maybe they're not the best weapons to carry down in there. Maybe. Okay. Um, Another reason for using random tables is the world is not your level. Something taught to, I believe, a current set of players today is, and not often looked at uh, critically, is that all challenges are not balanced for your players in the OSR. In video games, when you play many of these video games, you are limited, your character choices in the game is limited by your capability. And so the world is equal to your level. And the greater abilities you gain in the video game, the harder the world is. Same thing with classic video games you play like Galaga or Galaxian or whatever, and you're you're using the starship and you're firing and you get power ups and you get greater, and all of a sudden the enemies get faster and faster. The difficulties get, and it's like a equal progression, and life and worlds aren't like that. There's nothing, a living, breathing world doesn't mean your second, third, and fourth level characters won't encounter a dragon. Now, side note, spoiler alert again with the asterisks, context matters. Okay. So when I say the world is not your level, it doesn't mean that an encounter is combat. And that's another Mandela effect, if you will, the over canonizing of how games are done, that every encounter isn't combat. Even if it even if the encounter are NPCs or monsters, they don't necessarily have to be adversaries or adversaries at that time. Yes, your low level players may encounter a dragon and that the blue dragon flying overhead in the accursed desert might be returning to its home, and a huge shadow flies overhead as the dragon circles around, spots the players, and then keeps on going. Maybe that's the encounter. That's it. The the orc raiders riding on the back of the giant scorpions looks at the characters from a far distance, heat waves um, distorting their image, and the scorpion riders keep moving on. Maybe that's it. Do the players follow them, hide from them, parlay, draw their attention with a reflective mirror? Do they hide in the stands and hope that the enemy passes them by? Who knows? But the world doesn't need to be their level. Many monsters in games don't even need to recognize the capabilities of the players. As a matter of fact, what a great way to introduce one or more big bad evil guys that look at the players and consider them to be non-entities. Huh, you're not even worth my time. Hey, underlings, you deal with those player characters. Me, as the more powerful vampire lord or necromancer or whatever, I'm just going to keep moving on. I'm going to send some skeletons after those minor nuisances, and I'm going to go back to my city state, lock the doors up. And the players may be thinking like, well, my second level character can't take on a evil vampire lord or lich or council of seven wizards or what have you, but we sure can beat up on their minions, and maybe, just maybe, along the way, we'll gain experience and levels and some kind of MacGuffin like magic items or something to defeat that great evil. So, random tables, the world is not your level at all and doesn't need to be. It is about making the world alive and not just randomly rolling on something and going, you turn the corner and you see a giant. You turn the corner and you see an ooze. You turn the corner. No, 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 no. We are still let's go back to rule number one. It's not not a rule. Let's go back to the info dumping, right? What is this world like? What's the political um um how does the politics manifest in this world? It's when the players encounter things on your random tables, it behooves you to ensure that you wrap it into a flavorful, immersive element. So those scorpion riders might be on the move because their great dragon leader has just turned home and they've been out patrolling and they need to get back there as quick as possible. They don't have time to even deal with the player characters because dealing with the player characters is distracting them from their job, which is to get the hell back home and report back to their dragon lord who has just returned from traveling many leagues away or something. Uh, Random tables. Reuse, rename, reskin. You guys have heard me say this before. Repurpose, recontextualize. Mm-mm. If you can't have a pike in a cavern, how the F are you going to lug a 10-foot pole down there? You leave my 10-foot poles alone. I'm just joking. I know, I get it. Yeah, it's like how. Wait a minute. So I can't have a halberd or bill hook or whatever the number of French and German and English and Scottish pole arms there are, but I can take a 10-foot pole. I hear you. Yeah, just drink until monsters lay siege to the town, capture you because you're all unconscious from drinking, and presto, you've got an escape from slavery scenario. Yep, very common. Very the escape from the jail cell, escape from the prison, escape from the shackles is a very common start to an adventure and stuff. They can maybe not this week, but we'll talk about in media res type adventuring, which is some of my favorite. I love it. Yeah, good idea. What do the monsters want from you instead of fighting? Would make a great random table. I would suggest for game designers out there, if you're going to make random tables of like monsters or events or something, you spoiler alert with the asterisks, context matters, right? All right, reuse, rename, reskin. So oftentimes in the OSR, there aren't that many unique monsters. Let's be honest. There really aren't. Monsters and monster stat blocks are just a a series of numbers and letters. That's really all it is. And maybe essentially really most monsters are just we need a number to find out how effective it is at hurting you or going after you. We need a number to uh, discern how defensive or resistant it is against what the players do. And then we usually have added on to that a special feature. Any information more than that, it tends to be rather useless. So in the OSR, most stat blocks aren't really blocks at all. It's usually one line, two lines of text. So how do we make an infinite number of monsters in the OSR? We never didn't need to have yet another monster manual and more monster manuals and more monster books. The artwork in many of them are great. The build quality can be great in terms of getting like those hardback books and such. But in the OSR, it was find a couple of very useful number challenges, and then what we could use is a random table of voices, behaviors, looks, appearances. Uh, we love ourselves owlbears, right? You know, the body and size of a bear with the front claws and a face of an owl. But why are we limited to an owl and a bear? Why can't we have a table of various predatory monsters that are combined together? Why couldn't you roll up a wolf spider? Why couldn't you roll up an octopus eagle? Why couldn't you roll up a I don't know, monkey bee or a shark? I don't know, shark wasp. Why couldn't you roll up a I don't know, panther giraffe or something, right? Like why have we and why not have we embraced that in modern gaming? It doesn't need to necessarily be using the exact same stat block to be the exact same creature. As a matter of fact, it's rather boring to say there are 6 orcs on the hunt, and they are clearly drawn to your campfire. Why not call them and describe them as something else? And a lot of times we have random tables that their skin is random roll, 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 a shocking vivid blue. And they also have roll, 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 3 eyes, and roll, 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 a strange. They also have 3 limbs, 2 arms where you would normally see an upright person, and a third arm sprouting from their spine and their back, reaching over top of their head. Just because you're using the orc stat block doesn't mean they're orcs. And you can also rename them, recall them something, reskin them the exact same monsters. Maybe you roll up a hydra, but instead you make it a plant creature, and it has the roots reaching up from the ground, and you go to cut one of the roots from the massive tree, and 2 more roots sprout in its place, or 2 more limbs sprout in its place. Very quickly, and the PCs were like, well, how do we stop it? Well, we could burn the ends of the roots or the tree branches with a torch or something like that, right? Exact same thing. Except we just don't call it a hydra. So, says, is the escape from prison scenario so common that it's a terrible cliche that's automatically for dummies? Maybe, maybe, but listen, cliches and archetypes and tropes and things. There's a reason why. There's a reason why they exist, and sometimes it's because they're cool, right? Like tropes exist for a reason because they're used over and over again. I don't necessarily believe it's because it's lazy or easy. Like you say, automatically for like cliches is automatically for dummies. I don't think so. Um, I think not using them creatively is where you get, someone can default to a thing and then not utilize it to their best. Hey, D, Dante's a long time no see. Need a coffee? Gen Con was a lot of walking, still exhausted. Gen Con. Uh, one of these days, I should invite you on the show live. We can talk about that kind of thing. No, I won't even invite you. I'll probably make you. Although it would be cool for you to broadcast live from I am in the air broadcasting live. That would be awesome. Yeah, evil wizard can make anything table, gives rise to the bee monkey shark wasp. Yeah, yeah. It doesn't need to be an owl bear all the time, right? I mean, you add in a couple of it can fly. Maybe it's got a stinger or something like that, and you're done. The OSR is very great for creating things that fly. M Square, what's up? Because one of the favorite campaigns I ran was mostly made up of weird alien fantasy life, like lightning goats, fire giraffes, etc. Yep. Similar stat blocks, but just more fun with some novelty. Exactly. And let's really be honest with each other. Most of us that play a role-playing game for an extended period of time, even unconsciously, we know the numbers, and to get away from the meta gaminess of the game itself by not even being surprised, when you have a random table, it's very difficult to know every element of a random table, exactly each combination, and to know exactly how that's going to be. No. Yeah. Hey, the classic experiment by the wizard, alchemist, whatever, let loose these half and half monsters. out in the weird woods. So all of a sudden, you've got a random table, and when the players discover the monkey wasp and the shark spiders and all that kind of stuff, how they handle that, who knows, right? And as ridiculous as I'm making it sound, it also sounds kind of fun, right? Like a shark spider, like damn, is that two combinations of things that individually on their own you wouldn't want? Yeah, mushroom hydra, the edible mushroom hydra. Yeah, the monster equivalent of Goodberry spell. Players are like, don't draw your swords, open your mouths. Roll initiative, stick it in there, stick it in your mouth hole and defeat it. Right? That's funny. Yeah, Mike Marin says, goes on to say, come on, chat, move. There he says, and to come back to your point, having to justify why are these goats doing lightning damage? Well, because they absorb the lightning clouds of the highest mountains is great force improv. Yep. Play to discover. Play to discover. That's going to be our next part on here. And why the random, like, what is it about random tables in the OSR, right? When you guys are talking, lightning goat sounds like a good time. Did you ever end up with an acid-born shark? Sharknado did have a Sharknado. That's funny. And a dragon that breathes dynamite instead of fire in a Wild West campaign. Breathes to dynamite. Damn. That sounds really cool. Yeah. Being on as a straight man. That'd be awesome. Yeah, weird monsters are where it's at. Yeah, monsters should be weird. And random tables amplify that philosophy. Also, the again, as I'm showing you the reason why OSR and random tables exist, it's all of these things combined, right? It's lore. At the top of this table, right? Why random tables? And why such an addiction to them? And I understand in our current parlance of I'm setting a story and I'm deciding what's happening. Random tables give us all of these things combined at various levels, right? It's info. It's in the hands of angry dice gods. You don't know, hey, if I roll on a thing and I create a shark, spider, wasp damn creature, I didn't decide that. The dice decided it at this moment. And sure, it may be very dangerous, but all of us are surprised. Which brings us to play to discover. Play to discover is my sense of the DM, the dungeon master, the game master is also a player. Maybe even I don't know what's going to happen. I have an idea of what the accursed desert is like, but I don't know specifically at this very moment. Out of the 6 choices, let's see, is it a sandstorm? Are they orc raiders riding on giant scorpions? Are they sand snakes or trapdoor spiders? Is it an Efreet or Jinn, or is it the blue dragon that the PCs are going here to destroy? I don't know at this very moment. I don't know. Is it a nomadic clan that live out in the deserts and may give the players safety or healing or information? Is it an oasis that players come across from their travels? I don't know. I don't know what order those things are going to happen in. But the Rakshasa that has a giant tent and is willing to tantalize the players with just one more sip of chai and a breathing in some hookah. Did I know that was going to be the second encounter? Not really. I knew it existed, but when the dice came up and it came about, all right, let's play to discover. All right, let's see what's happening here. Those giants in the accursed desert that the players see on the horizon. We're going to get to this very end of it. What happens there? So then, quickly, improv deep end cliff jumping. In other words, a skill that was taught to us grognards back in the beginning of the game was you're going to have to play this by ear. And today, I feel like in our modern sensibilities, there's a there's a safety net of sorts. And the random tables, the OSR, the old games, we didn't have an online forum to figure out how to do these things. We didn't have YouTube channels for individuals to tell us, to give us examples. We didn't have actual plays of people that are improv artists running games. We didn't have any of that. You were thrown into the deep end. You had to jump off the cliff. That's why I put either of those. It was, this is going to be seat of the pants. And the players made a left turn. I don't know what's going to happen next. Let's grab some dice and see what the hell happens. And as the dungeon master, I'm going to have to realize how to roll with this thing. And even rolling out front, letting the players see the numbers, I'm going to have to figure out how to make this organically fit into my world. Damn it, I rolled giants, frost giants, in the middle of my accursed desert. Now, on its surface, I could say frost giants in the desert, that doesn't make any sense. But I could turn it into a story element. Maybe those frost giants are burned. They are harsh. They don't have the strength to fight the player characters. They are dying. Maybe they escaped from their imprisonment from the blue dragon that was running the city-state in the first place, built around that oasis. And those orc raiders riding on the back of giant scorpions are going after the escaped frost giants. How the hell the frost giants got there, I don't know. A portal, a magic item. They were trapped underground. They were used as forced labor and only kept alive with a chamber of ice cold fury deep down in the bowels of the city state. And you see how I just pulled this out of my ass, and I'm creating a context. As I sit here, context. What did I do? It's not about random tables, folding my arms, and being frustrated about what I roll. It is about embracing it, knowing that the next roll of the dice is going to surprise all of us. And this just happens to be the world, how the world is. It is the literal definition of the thing that I use a lot on this channel is mind fuel. Sometimes you got to top off on that mind fuel. The creative spark. I never thought about frost giants in my accursed desert, but damn it, I rolled it on the table. And now I'm gonna just go with it. It makes a great as an enemy. Nah, it doesn't need to be. But as a lordom, maybe there's a magic sword. One of those. Remember the old classic Frost brand? It was first it was the flame tongue sword. That was the sword that you could give a command word and it would light on fire. It was known as the flame tongue. But the second most popular sword from that era of gaming was the Frost brand. And the Frost brand was the sword that had like it was so cold you could slice through your enemies and the cold would cauterize the wound. It was so cold. Maybe that weapon is down in the bowels of this city-state that the blue dragon controls. And the blue dragon could care less about the sword, but if the players acquire it, hey, and maybe the frost giants were surviving because of this damn sword. That's why they haven't burned up. You know, who knows? And there's all kinds of other reasons you could have them exist in this thing. Lastly, and this isn't the only, but this is we are not limited by this list that I created 10 minutes before we went live. Unique singular moments. Sometimes, just sometimes, when we roll on these random tables, a thing may happen, and we don't know what's going to happen. We didn't create the thing that happened, but it did. The dice gods said that this unique singular moment happened, and we're just going to go with it. It wouldn't have happened in any other moment except right now, at this very moment, at this time in the table. The damn shark spider wasps that are attacking the players, and everybody thought it was crazy and dangerous but cool. The frost giants they found in the accursed desert and didn't know why, including the dungeon master, and I had to come up with a reason why. We didn't know this, but these are singular moments. And all of this is held in the hands should be modified, should be held with a lot of context. What's the context of why this exists? Not a you turn the corner and find a mind flayer. It is what is the context? Um, Meaning monsters who don't there are 1,001 reasons why monsters don't attack up front. What's the context of that? Right? Uh yeah. You guys are saying something like last random table I started was it for an airship adventure idea. Yep. My favorite random encounter event was flying giant termites that were really just adjusted rust monsters. I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, like Mike Maron says, interesting point. If rust monsters are beetle-like, who says they can't fly? Whatever, right? Yeah, flying rust monsters. PCs may go, oh, rust monsters, no big deal. Well, we literally my movement rate makes them fast. My character's faster than them. They're not a threat, and all of a sudden they take to the air, and the PCs are like, what the? They basically do the mouthing. What is it? Wesley Snipes in the first Blade movie when he sees Frost turn into the blood god, and he's like, he just mouths, what the right? Who says that can't be a thing or shouldn't be a thing? Um, and especially if you roll it randomly, you just shrug your shoulders and go, angry dice gods, right? Random tables do have their limitations. Player fatigue, combat for the sake of combat, less polished encounters. Well, and like I said, context. Why does a monster or an NPC or an adversary have to be combat? No one said that. It's about context. For example, and I suggest this for all game designers out there to do this, that parallel to your encounters, write down context. And what I mean by context, let me pull some stuff out of my ass. Hungry, wounded, poisoned, lost, blind, shackled, enslaved, mind controlled. What are some more? Uh, Scared, paranoid, hypnotized, hiding, um, patrolling, searching for, building shelter, playing card games, sleep, um, eating, drinking, hunting, fishing, protecting young ones, giving birth, reading, heck, praying. There's okay. Every random encounter doesn't mean roll dice, attack. Not at all. Maybe the players come across animals. Let's say a pack of wolves. The pack of wolves are just protecting their cubs, or the pack of wolves are around a pit that's out there, and one or more of the wolves fell down into the pit, or the wolves are starving. They are rabid. Maybe the wolves are diseased, and yes, they could be aggressive, but maybe they aren't in control of their faculties. How many times have we seen in nature videos where we see a bear at a stream trying to catch that salmon swimming upstream? That bear's not trying to attack the photographer. The bear's just like, I'm trying to eat and you're in my way. Go away. Right? Who's to say that the players don't discover an alligator in a swamp that just consumed, I don't know, a pelican or something that was there, and it's just trying to eat its food? So every single encounter, even if you have nothing but monsters on it, doesn't need to be roll initiative. It could be a flock of birds circling overhead. It could be undead zombies and skeletons stuck in the muck of a swamp. You don't have to fight them. They're just stuck there, right? Dante says, exactly. I also added a flying version of siren mermaids that tried to lure adventurers up until the ship went too high and the crew would go unconscious from lack of oxygen, like reverse drowning. See? Exactly. Although, could you drown in a rain cloud with enough rain? Mike says, I think you could address this with different routes for players to choose. They could choose the narrative path, road, or could gamble on the randomized path, the wilds. Exactly. And that was, I already put, let's here. M, M squared, you've already seen some of this. Why the random tables? Time as a dwindling resource. Time is a resource in the OSR. And what I mean by that is there may be a quicker path to get to where you go, but it might be more dangerous. Or the well-trodden path may take longer. So the players may choose that spending too much time in the dungeon, taking too long to go through the hidden valley, walking through the unknown pass, uh, spending too much time wandering in the accursed desert is a resource. That time is a resource. And how it is expressed is rolling on that random table for encounters. And sure, there may be some neutral and good portions on that random accursed desert table that I created, like an oasis or a nomadic clan that's willing to help the players with some tea and to have a discussion and get out of the heat with a tent or something like that. But it also might be some dangerous things on that random table. And the players know it. And they know, listen, every hour, the game master, the dungeon master is going to be rolling on this random table. We don't have time to spend 3 hours in this damn room looking in the library for a book. We got to keep moving, right? That's where the time is. It's not just hit points. Time is also a factor. And, random ghosts, random kobold tribe, random minotaurs wandering through the dungeon could wander up in that library while everyone's searching for this book, but the wizard refuses to leave that room. Right? Drew says the context why it exists is because the deities like to roll dice to have some random encounters. Hey, if you've ever seen those movies from the 60s and 70s about the Jason and the Argonauts and all the other stop action what was the claymation stop action monsters and things like that, it was a bit like that. The Olympian gods moving chess pieces around, and it became real things on the chessboard of reality. So why not? Drew says, I prefer a more deliberate thematic experience, which is why I have not much to say today. No, you're fine. But I am proposing that random tables it's not random why people who are grognards like myself like the random experience. And that random experience involves a number of the things that I listed, if not more. And it is not rolling randomly, throwing your hands up and going, I have no control. It's just random. I don't know what I'm doing. It is there to fuel an experience. And sometimes that experience is different. Drew says, yeah, but that is fine. More time to think about what I write on my Discord. Yep, serving about the hobby. There you go. As long as you gain some mind fuel from experiences, even if you're listening in the background, I don't care. You don't owe me anything. Mike Marin says, stealing all those verb keywords. I literally typing them as you speak. Fantastic stuff. Yeah, I guess I should have wrote that down. but you get my point there. As M squared is talking, context is everything, right? Every creature you fight doesn't need to be at average hit points in your book because it's average. Who's to say that they aren't those frost giants scrambling across the accursed desert aren't dehydrated or have arrows in their back and aren't poisoned, right? And they are poisoned because of those orc raiders who are on those riding on the back of those giant scorpions looking for the damn giant frost giants who should be going back into the pits and working or whatever the hell, they escaped or something, right? One leads to the next, Oh, Mothership, yeah. Yeah, alligator pelican with man-like intelligence. There you go. Yep. Why the hell not? Why not? Why not have an alligator with the little neck gobble thing where the pelican can like scoop up the fish with the water and stuff, but it's like it's got the little jowls underneath the alligator's mouth. That's even worse. Yeah. Dante says the game Mothership has some great tables for character creation that work as prompts to get you thinking. I especially like the table for your trinket. Highly recommend a read through that game. Mothership is excellent. If I'm not mistaken, doesn't Mothership have a badge system as well, where you have a badge on your outfit, and the badge on your outfit is like a knowledge slash skill slash personality trait. I can't remember, but it's really good. Mothership is really. I don't own it. Well, I might have the PDF. But it is excellent game. It's a um, what's the best way to say this? Few words, great mind engine for such a short, tight styled game. Okay, there we go. Let's see if they'll all show up. Hungry, wounded, poisoned, lost, blind, shackled, enslaved, scared, paralyzed, hypnotized, yep, patrolling, searching, gaming, sleeping, eating, drinking, hunting, protecting young, reading, praying. Yeah, all those things. Who's to say that when you roll a random monster on a random table, who's to say those things aren't happening and to make your world alive when it happens? And this is where context, I think, is important. And so today I understand that many people balk at the idea of, I'm not going to, this is my adventure in my game world. I'm not rolling on a random table to decide what happens. But maybe, oh, here's something else I should add to this table here when it talks about singular moments. Use the proper tool table. So it's not just about using a random table, it's about using the right one. Now, you can have fun getting a table that doesn't. I talked about the Accursed Desert and Frost Giants. Well, did I use the wrong table for my Accursed Desert? Just as Dante was saying, he's like, yeah, I had an airship encounter and I rolled mermaid sirens, but I made my mermaid sirens hypnotize you and cause the crew to go higher and higher in the air to lose oxygen like you were drowning. So it's not just using the proper tool and table, it's about that context, right? It's not only do you want to use the proper tool if you have the proper tool, but even if you don't, let it contextually matter. Maybe that same mermaid I roll on a table with a volcanic jungle island. Okay, well, how do I reframe that? Maybe there are jungle tree spirits. Okay, no. There are tree spirits, and they are women that they walk upside down under the canopy in the jungle, and their heads turn at odd angles so that when we look at them in their faces as they walk upside down under the canopy, that their smiles and their grins draw us to them. We can smell, it's not the sounds, but it's the pheromones they give off, the smell of ripe fruit and nectar that draws us to them. But little do we know, we are walking towards the thin ground at the base of the volcano to have us step into a volcanic, what's it called, a fumarole, I think is the name of it, uh, a uh, a pocket of poisonous gases erupting from the ground or something like, right? Pulling this bullshit out of my ass, but to recontextualize it and to use it. Yeah, D says yes. It sure does have a badge table that gives you some background bonuses, right? Hey, maybe my badge says sniper, or my badge is a bulldog holding instead of a bone in its mouth, is holding a lightning bolt. What the hell does that even mean? Right? I don't know. Maybe my badge has a ghost holding a firearm or something, or my badge has literally a monkey holding a wrench. What does that tell you about your character in Mothership, right? So yeah, and thanks for writing it down. So if anybody is seeing this and you want to make your own context table, and uh, um, M Squared did the Mr. Marin here did the work for you, go ahead and steal that. Go ahead and copy paste it, pause it right there, write it down, make a, I don't know, 3D6 table on it or something, or just make a D20 table, add some more, take some away. Of course, the gaming or whatever or reading might not be for wild animals, or maybe it is. You know, those wild animals don't need to be wild at all. Like I said, maybe they're protecting their young. There's a big difference between a winter wolf that is rabid and foaming at the mouth, and a winter wolf with a saddle on its back. Tells you two different things, right? A winter wolf with rabies is hella dangerous. A winter wolf with a saddle on his back tells you that there might be even more danger out there. Who owns this damn thing, and who was able to put a damn saddle on the back of a winter wolf, right? We don't know. So, guys, thank you very much for letting me go off on this on these tangents, and talk about the. Let me see if I can actually pull up. Let me pull up this. I will pull up my thumbnail. Okay, so the idea behind this is this, the idea of the unintended consequences, right? OSR versus D&D5e, and this is the thumbnail for this. And as we go on throughout the week, and just talking about the unintended consequences of changing one thing to another, of getting rid of a thing, and while I understand for the writers out there, I promise I was going to leave this up here. For the writers, for the creators, for the game designers, even, there is this desire not to have randomness in a storyline. But we also are not teaching some of these great skills that I feel are out there. And some of those skills are improv skills. We see this happen seasonally in the tabletop community, right? Like how do you improv? What happens when the players turn left instead of right? What happens when all these things happen? And the idea behind it, what the hell? Did my window just disappear? Huh. That is very strange. This has happened before. Okay, I guess I'll just stop screen sharing. Great. Okay. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you also for much of your attention, for your brilliance, for all of that stuff. We're going to talk about the 10-foot pole, the OSR. That's what we'll do tomorrow. We're going to talk about 10-foot poles and what the hell is the issue, the legend of the reason why the 10-foot pole, right? Although I have often wondered why not the 10-foot halberd or pike or polearm, but we're going to talk 10-foot pole tomorrow. But today, just want to talk about the reason, one of a number, but not limited to the reasons why random tables are used in the OSR, what benefit it has to gaming, and it's about not having a world that is based on a quick summary. Okay, context matters. It allows us to information dump about our world. What is our world like? What's in our world? And the rumors, the lore, the culture in our world, the background, the history, and those random encounters. We can add those features in there. I talked about the hands of angry dice gods. Hey, the dice control what happens. How many monsters, what types of monsters, what types of encounters, what kinds of dangerous environments that happened, good or bad. It's all with the dice, and all of us are surprised by it. Using time as a dwindling resource. Spending too much time someplace is dangerous and should be dangerous. Random tables represent that time factor, that pressure. If players can do nothing but rest without pressure, then there is no danger. But if they're going into a place that's supposed to be dangerous, having them every time the players rest and waste time, there should be some kind of danger. A lot of times it's wandering monsters was the default. You can't spend time, there is no such thing as taking a long rest in a dungeon, because they're going to hear and see and experience and sense ghosts going through walls, giant spiders crawling on ceilings, oozes coming around corners, kobold clans poking their heads into these rooms, yet again, patrolling their territory and things like that. The world is not your level. Putting things on or using random tables with monsters that are very high level. Now, again, context. Maybe the high level monster is willing to parlay or ignore the PCs or doesn't consider them a threat or wants to use them in their own machinations down in this dungeonified world or something like that. Not every monster wants to just roll initiative and attack. Reuse, rename, reskin those same entities. Just because you roll up orcs doesn't mean you need to call them orcs, or that they even look like orcs, or they even have the origin of orcs. Maybe they look different. Maybe they are different. Size, skin, behavior, language, culture, desires, motivations, all that stuff. We roll on these random tables to play to discover. I don't know what's next. You don't know what's next. Players don't know what's next. But the dice just said there is a clan of scorpion riding spider warriors. Now what? Right? Improving, jumping off that, going into the deep end of the pool or jumping off a cliff. Hey, we rolled the dice. We're just going to go with it. I don't know what's going to happen. I didn't even prepare for this, but we're going to accept it and train. This is a training of ourselves as DMs and game masters, dungeon masters and game masters, to go, I just rolled frost giants. I don't know why they're here. I'm not just going to call it stupid and fold my arms and say this random table's dumb. I'm going to go, why are they here? Maybe they are a diplomatic envoy because or they want to extract money from or favors from the blue dragon. Maybe they did come from the far north. Maybe they are the brave ones to come down, and the dragon's like, if you send emissaries, I'll join you, but not until then. Maybe they are sacrificing themselves to make the journey, to give of themselves, so that this is a moment where the blue dragon goes, I knew why I flew up to the far north. I knew why I did that. And they sent their emissaries down. We don't know. What a great thing. Random tables, minefield. Maybe it's something you just never thought of. Singular moments. This thing happened at this very moment in front of us as friends, hanging around the table, that couldn't be repeated any other time. It happened randomly by the will of the dice gods, that this thing happened in this order, in this moment, that was unrepeatable. And of course, using the proper table when we talk about these things, right? Which table are you rolling on? What's the tool? So yeah. It says, good show. 10 for pool is going to be awesome tomorrow. Now we just got to make it through Monday, part 2, the revenge. Yeah. D says, have a good one. I'm going to get that coffee now. Yeah. Get that fuel inside you. So guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. For those who found this channel, thank you very much. Please help me defeat the algo gods, right? Like, share, subscribe. This show goes live 6 a.m. Monday through Friday. So if you have an idea for something next week or the week after, whatever, a subject matter or something, please take part. And you guys are my co-hosts of the show, which makes me look brilliant. So thank you very much out there, all of you. Yeah. Guys, it is just after 7 a.m. my time here. You guys, wherever you are in the world, have a great day. Thank you very much for spending your valuable time here. I hope as you spend your valuable time, I can make change for you in your tabletop role playing experience. Yep. Angry Dice of the Algo Gods. Sounds like one of those adventures, right? Oh man, blank of the blank blank. Queen of the Demon Web Pits, king of the, I don't know, Sun Sword. I don't know, cult of the. It was always something of the something something. Yep. Angry Dice of the Algo Gods. Hell yeah, guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. You'll come back tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace and tranquility. Bye.